Okay, welcome to the Superstar Mastermind, guys. We have KateScholtes on the call today. Kate is a 7-star diamond on the current elite report. She is number 10 in the entire network. One of the cool things, Kate's got, she's been doing really well this year with leadership development points, I noticed. She's got 3 new success starters. And she's had 5 Star Diamond rank advancements, which I always think is a great way to kind of look as an indicator of what's happening in her business. Kate, let's kick this off with number 1, when did you become a coach? How long you been working on it, and what changed, really? So give us your background for a minute.
Okay. So in February of 2017 is when I signed up with my first challenge pack just as a customer. And then I quit 2 weeks later and said that at-home workouts don't work and that I was too busy and Shakeology was an overpriced protein shake and like all this stuff. And then I actually didn't do a challenge group or anything Beachbody for 9 months, 10 months. Turns out I was a discount coach the whole time and didn't realize it. I thought I had canceled everything, but my discount coach thing didn't cancel. So I was an inactive discount coach for 9 or 10 months without really knowing it. And then in December of 2017, I decided to go all in and go in with a challenge pack, or like I redid my Shakeology and my bod once we realized I still had my account. I signed up to be a coach because I had tried to do it as just a challenger and do it for just myself, and it didn't work. So I really wanted to have that extra layer of accountability by being a coach, because I knew that if I needed to show up for other people, then I would show up for myself more often and more consistently. And at the time, I was a full-time teacher. I was teaching in South Central LA. And I was a middle school teacher. I was 30 pounds heavier than I am today. And I was really just looking for something more and like being a part of something more. But then I realized like the income potential and kind of like became just super passionate about Beachbody and what we do and how we empower others and how it had changed my life just in a really short amount of time. So I left teaching after that year. So the following June, so it's almost been a year since I've been a full-time coach. And since then, it's just been crazy. We built a house in Arizona, so we live in Arizona now. Curtis just came home from law enforcement, so he's helping me with the business, and he's going to start hopefully coaching baseball, which is his passion. So just doing that on the side to do something that he's passionate about. Just been crazy.
So wait, I got to ask some questions here. So signed up, discount coach, thought you canceled, went inactive, but rebought a challenge pack. I'm assuming with the same upline coach.
Yeah.
So you weren't ever out. You were just inactive out.
Right. And just
and
like
then
doing the workouts or anything.
So what changed that made you come back to like, what made you think I'm going to do this?
Honestly, it's like the weirdest thing. It was literally one day I was looking around my classroom and it was a Friday, and I was really at rock bottom. I was really anxious, really just sad all the time. And I started crying. And I was just like so sick of feeling that way.
Yeah.
And I had watched Ashley Feldison as my upline, and I had watched her for the 9 months that I had been just kind of sitting back. And she would always ask me like if I wanted to jump back in or if I wanted to do this. And I was like, no, I'm good. Like, I'm glad it works for you, but not for me. But I just watched her show up every day. And I literally just one day I looked around my classroom and I was just like, is this it? Like, this is just going to be my life for the rest of my life. I'm just going to be like unhealthy and anxious and sad and all this stuff. And I just wasn't okay with it. And it was just like so weird. I just like decided I was going to be a Beachbody coach. Like, there was just like it was like an overwhelming feeling. I'm going to be a Beachbody coach. And I texted Ashley and was like, tell me about this coaching thing and don't BS me. Like, is it actually legit? Like, I want to go all in, but I want to go all in for myself and as a coach. I texted my husband. Well, he was my fiance at the time. was like, I think I'm going to do this. And he was like, okay. And I was like, all right. And we just decided to do it. And
Okay, so that's December of 17. So essentially all of last year was your first year coaching.
yeah.
Okay. So talk about how you like went all in. Like, I mean, you committed to a program, you started doing challenge groups, you were in a challenge group. Like give the story. And I know it's pretty much the fundamentals, but talk about how you kind of went all in and did this.
Yeah. So I started with 21 Day Fix because that's what Ashley told me to start with. So I started with 21 Day Fix. I felt so good, like a week into it, just like feeling my body with good foods and like being surrounded by like a positive community. And I was just excited, and I didn't know how this was going to change my life, but I just had this like overwhelming feeling that it was going to. So I started sharing on Instagram from day one. I didn't have a huge following. I had 500 followers ish. They were all teachers because I don't know if you guys know, but there's like a teacher Instagram cult. And like teachers have like teacher Instagrams, and they like follow each other for like lesson plan ideas and stuff like that. So I was lunches in literacy. And I would I woke up at 4 a.m. every single day, and every single day at 4, I would post a story of me drinking my Energize, and I was working out in our spare bedroom, and then I was commuting an hour to work. And I was just sharing that because I felt like if I shared that, like, I'm a teacher, I'm doing this, like, you can do this too, because that was the majority of my following, then it would help people. And that's what I did. Just from day one, I was never like afraid to post about it. I never felt like weird about sharing my story. I just like never had that like hesitation. So I just started sharing from day one. I got results with 21 Day Fix. Just helped me like decrease a lot of bloat, and obviously I didn't lose a ton of weight because it's 3 weeks, but I did really well. And then that was the launch of 80 Day Obsession. And I was like, I'm going to go all in with 80 Day. I'm going to get insane results. I'm going to share my entire journey. And throughout that journey, I lost 15 pounds and went from like a size 12 to a size 6. And that was like the bread and butter. Like that was this last spring. And that's where I brought in a lot of my leaders. That's where I brought in a ton of challengers that ended up turning into coaches or have just been really loyal challengers. And that's just kind of how like my business started, I guess.
So last year, where did you end the year? Where were you ranked at the end of the year?
Number 18.
Number 18 in the entire network. Essentially becoming a coach, really starting working in January, ending the year at number 18. Okay, well, guys, that lays the groundwork. So what questions do you have for Kate? So let's turn you loose on her. It always starts a little slow. They're always so nice in the beginning, and then by the end, it just kind of gets crazy. But go ahead.
Hi, Kate. Good morning. So can we talk about that year that led to your explosive growth? Can you share some of the things that you did? So you said, you from day one, you just started jumping in and you were sharing and you were passionate, you had a vision, but can you tell what you did behind the scenes, in addition to that?
Yeah. So I was inviting a lot. I have never been afraid of inviting. I am very passionate about inviting. And my coach never told me like how many people to invite from the beginning, because Ashley was still she always says like end of 2017 is like when her business exploded, even though she had been a coach for longer. So she was still kind of like developing herself as a leader, I feel like. And so she didn't like tell me how many invites to send or anything. I just had seen like the way she posted. So I was like, well, she posts like this, so I'm going to post like this. And then she told me to invite, so I'm going to invite. And so I think in the beginning, I was inviting like 30 people a day, just right off the bat. And since I had like 500 followers, obviously, I had to grow my following too. So the way I grew my following then isn't how we can do it today, but I used Captivate, which is technically a third-party app, but you're picking your people that you want to follow, and then it follows them for you like at nighttime. So it was easy for me as a teacher. Like I would pick everyone I wanted to follow, and then the app would follow them for me at night. And then that's how I would like connect and engage with people. So I grew my following while I was inviting, but I think it was in like February of 2018 that I started inviting 62 people a day. I call it the notebook method, and that is what Ashley taught me. So I knew, like, as a teacher, like, I didn't have time. Like, I didn't have time, but I could make time for my business because I was so passionate about it. So I was probably working like an hour or two a night after teaching, and I was also coaching basketball. But I knew that if I like went to bed with one page of 62 invites sent, then I did everything I could do to drive my business forward. And so I just did that every day for like the whole time I was a teacher, probably into the summer. And then as I started to develop leaders and as I started to be able to develop more like attraction marketing, I still invite like 40 a day, usually 40 to 50 a day. But then randomly my team will be like, let's have a 100 invite challenge. And so we're all like inviting 100 people for like a week or something. But that's kind of been like a really big part of our culture, has been inviting. And it's not cold inviting. It's inviting people that follow us, are watching our stories and liking our photos. We're not going out to like some random person that doesn't know who we are or seen any of our stuff before and inviting them. But that's kind of like, I feel like the bread and butter of how grew as a team so fast, is we weren't ever really afraid to invite because we knew what we had to offer, and what we have to offer is a gift. And we kind of built that culture into our team. So like I have new coaches that come out the gates inviting 25 people a day. I actually edited the Success Club system tracker. So it doesn't say 5, it says 15. So my team comes on, they see like the tracker says 15 invites a day. So my new coaches are sending at least 15 invites a day. And yeah, I feel like that's kind of like the main action thing.
I love that. You just set the bar higher and they rise to that occasion. I love that. So I heard you once say, sorry to monopolize this, but I'll be done after this, that if they're following you, they've already said yes to being a part of your business, right? So it's not like a cold message. If they're following you, then they're going to potentially get an invite. And so are you teaching your team challenge group coaching, both? I mean, what does that look like? Can you dive deeper into that?
Yeah, so I'm the worst at coach invites. This is something that I'm growing on. I have never invited to the coaching opportunity unless I see someone that I'm like, I need them to be a coach on my team. Then I'll be like, you need to do this with me. But I'm not like, oh, I need to send this many coach invites today or whatever. I'm challenging myself this month to send at least 3 a day. But like that's, from the last year and a half, it's been mostly challenge group invites. And then inviting to coach info session. So I'll invite to a coach info session, say like, hey, I'm hosting this free info session about what I do as a coach. I don't know if it's something you're into, but I would love for you to jump in, check it out or something. And so I'm going to do that, or I do that. And my coaches do that too, but it's mostly challenge group invites, from the beginning. And I think it's just because that's how I came in as a challenger. The first time my coach invited me and I signed up with that first challenge pack, and then like didn't do anything with it. It was a challenge group invite, and I don't know, I think I struggle with like limiting beliefs around like coach invites. But I'm learning, and so as I'm learning, I'm teaching my team, because I'm like, I'm not going to tell you guys to do coach invites if I'm not doing it. Like, I'm not going to expect you to do it if I'm not doing it. So let's do it together.
Yeah.
And so that's something that.
Great. Thank you.
Of course.
Well, I'm going to ask the obvious question. Why 62 invites a day? Why not 61 or 63?
I don't have a notebook. Oh, it's right here, yeah. So on a notebook from Target, that's like 99 cents. There's 31 lines on a college rules notebook, and when you fold it in half hot dog style, it makes 2 columns, which equals 62.
Perfect. No, I like it. I like that there's an answer. That's cool.
Yeah. So I just fill up a page like this of invites, and then I know that I did everything I could to contact as many people as I can.
Perfect.
All right, I have a question. Hi, Kate. Okay, so you said you focus a lot on your fitness groups and inviting to that, and then like the sneak peek. So walk us through, okay, so they sign up as a challenger. Like, what is your process to get them from challenger to coach? Because obviously you're succeeding, you're in the top 10, And so you're helping your coaches succeed. So I just want to kind of see that process.
So I actually don't convert a lot of my challengers to successful coaches. I don't really know what the missing link is. I think it is maybe lack of expectations in the challenge group that like I don't really know. A lot of my coaches come in off a sneak peek. So a lot of my coaches come in off a sneak peek as a challenger and a coach at the same time. But my challengers because this year in January, I was like, hey, I need to work really hard on converting challengers to coaches. And that's like my big goal for this year. And so what I'm doing now is really like, I first of all am having a call every Thursday for just my challengers. And then my coaches can bring their challengers too. And we are having like team calls for our challengers. So whether it's like about mindset, nutrition, Shakeology, like it's kind of like a team call every Thursday, but for our challengers. And so like the people that are showing up on every Thursday call, I'm like, okay, like this girl might be a good coach. Like she's showing up and she's, being encouraging and she's being a sponge. I last Thursday did a call that was basically like how you can help others slay. And so it's basically like teaching them how they can help others in the group get results too. And that was really cool because I was like, you guys, like yes, I'm the coach, but like this isn't a challenge group. This isn't a fit club or a community unless you guys help me to encourage others. And so now I'm seeing a lot more engagement, like they're coming on each other's pictures, they're posting more pictures of themselves or their shakes. And so it's giving me a better idea of like, okay, this girl could be a really great coach. So then she's like one of my 3 coach invites for the day. But a lot of my coaches come from sneak peeks. So they get in an info session or a sneak peek or whatever I call it that month. And I just basically lay it down for them. It's basically like Holly's outline that she did in the Beachbody Champions page. I moved it to 1 day. So I'm running 1 day info sessions where I go live like 3 or 4 times in the day. And then they basically make a decision like if this is going to be a good fit for them. And sometimes they're in 1 or 2 or 3 info sessions and I keep following up. But a lot of times if they want to work on their fitness and they want to hold themselves accountable, just like I did. So I feel like I am attracting like the same type of person I am where I'm going to go all in as a challenger and a coach because like that's what I did. So I don't know if that answered the question.
Okay, you got a couple of questions coming in on the chat. Lori Stewart says, what do you say or what would you say in your invites? And maybe differentiate between to a challenge group versus the 3 that you invite to coaching every day.
Okay, so a challenge group invite would say something like, hey sister, I don't know if you've seen my stories, but I'm enrolling for my May boot camp and I was just reaching out to see if you'd want more info to snack spot. Like that's it. Super simple. I keep it really short because for me, I always say invite the way you would want to be invited. So for me, I rather would get a message that's just like super short, to the point, like here's what I'm offering you, versus like giving them all the information right away. And then when they say like, yeah, I'm interested in more info, or yeah, I've seen and I'm interested or whatever, then I'm going to break it down. Like, okay, cool. You're going to get, a fitness and nutrition package, an accountability group to help you on your journey, me as your coach to work with you side by side. And we're going to do this together. How does that sound so far? So I like pump up the value first. And then they're like, that sounds great. And then, or like, and what's the cost? And then I give them 3 package options usually. Say like, here's a breakdown, give them a cost breakdown. And then which package do you think is better fit for you? So that's pretty much how I get people into challenge groups. And then as far as a coaching invite, I don't really have a good wording yet. I'm still trying to figure that out. But I just feel like the more like you are, like the more you're talking to like your best friend, the more likely they are to sign up with you. Like, I don't want it to sound like a scripted, like spammy thing that everybody is getting. I want it to feel like, especially for coaching, to feel just more authentic. So a lot of times if they're my challengers and I'm sending them a coach invite, I'm like, girl, why are you not coaching yet? Like, it's just like straight up like, why are you not doing this with me? Or if I see someone on Instagram, like I have a coach, a diamond, who when I invited her to coaching, it was like like I was honestly afraid to invite her because I was just like nervous and like whatever, but I was like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I'm gonna do it anyways. And I was just like, all right, like I never do this, and like this is totally scary, but I would totally be kicking myself if I didn't. Like I see you watching my stuff every day, and I would totally love if we could do this together because I totally see you being awesome. Would you be interested in doing what I do as a coach, or have you ever thought of doing what I do as a coach? So just keeping it really simple and like you would talk to your best friend. Like I wouldn't go up to my best friend and be like, hey girl, like I love your sweater. Where did you get it? Oh, by the way, like, do you want to be a coach? Like, I can't even come up with something that I would say that like doesn't sound like me because I'm so in tune with like what I would actually say.
Yeah. So there's a couple more questions. Let me ask you this. What percentage of your challengers and coaches are school teachers?
Like 98%.
Yeah, I just wondered if your market is so dialed, but that's good. It's just interesting to see.
It's like teachers and nurses.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why do you think nurses?
I think because like they're busy, and so they're busy and they like to help people, and so this is something where like 30-minute workouts and they're still like making an impact. But I would say like most, it's like 99% teachers, 1% nurses.
Okay.
But that's, I mean, it's definitely a blessing and a curse because I think teachers are for the most part like super go-getters, and they're pretty organized, and they're just like pretty fired up most of the time. But like end of the school year, I can see like a dip in like their consistency, or like their burnouts is starting, or like beginning of the school year, they're trying to get their feet under them. So like those are, I know, 2 roles in my business to expect because my team is pretty much all teachers. But there's a lot of times where I'm like, dang, why was like April so weird and all this stuff? And it's like state testing, like end of the school year, report cards, all these things. And then same with like August, it's like the start of the school year and people are trying to get their stuff together. And so it makes a lot of sense.
Okay. So Julie Vora says, I don't get the numbers you get on your Instagram story. And I know those viewers are folks you send invites to. So how do you increase the views on your story to have more people to invite?
Great. So I probably have about 4,000 people that watch my stories every day. I have about 16,000 followers, and 4,000 views, like 3,500 to 4,000. And so I think the way that I've never really tried to increase my story views. I just like show up all the time and like show myself. So it's like, I don't really know the answer, but I'm very consistent on my stories. Like I have a routine, like every morning I'm, getting up and I'm doing my morning ritual, which I didn't do today, which I just realized that I didn't post about that today. So except for today, I'm usually really consistent. But I post about like my morning mindfulness journal and my PD. So it's like people almost like expect what to see on my stories, and they come back to it every time. I always post like pump up dance party with my Energize, and I always pull like a song from like 2012 or like 2008, and it's like kind of fun because that's me. And then I post my workout videos, and I'm always doing like polls, even if they have nothing to do with coaching. Like this morning, I always do a good morning and a good night post, so people kind of know when I'm starting to post or when I'm ending my posting for the day. And so like this morning I posted a picture of like my bed that I made, and I asked people like, do you make your bed every day? Like, good morning, do you make your bed every day? And people are saying yes or no. Or something else. But I'm just very consistent on my stories on like what I do. But also I tell my coaches like a good way to get your story views up is to invite people that are following you, or to at least connect with them in some way, like send them a message and say like, oh my gosh, I just realized that like you follow me and we've never connected, like something, ask them a question or whatever. But when you message people that are following you, it's going to trick Instagram's algorithm into being like, oh, like Kate and Sally are talking, and Sally's not really seeing Kate's stuff, so I'm going to push all of Kate's stuff to the front of Sally's page. So inviting from your followers actually helps a lot with getting those story views up. A lot of times when I send my invite, I say, I don't know if you've seen in my stories, because my stories usually have what bootcamp I'm enrolling to, what info session I'm doing. So if they haven't seen it, they're going to my stories. almost immediately when they hear, I don't know if you've seen my stories, like, oh, well, crap, I haven't seen her stories. I'm going to go to her stories and watch them and then like either ghost her or send her a message back. But I also, like, I get a lot of people that ghost me. Like, I'll send like 62 invites a day and like 5 of them are coaches. And I'm like, why is your profile private? And then the rest of them, I get like maybe 1 or 2 people that are interested. Like, I don't, it's not like all 62 people are interested, but it's just like the consistency over time of doing that. So I don't know if there's a really good way to increase your story views. But I know that just like showing up and trying to direct people there usually helps. Sometimes in posts, if I like do something, just the other day I kept like falling in my stories. I'd be like talking and then I'd like stub my toe and I'd still be recording, and it was ridiculous. And so I'd make a post like, check out my story for like what happened right before this or something. So then people are going to my stories when they read my posts. So I don't know if that helps.
Gary, you had a follow-up question that kind of goes along with that.
Yeah, I was just curious. You mentioned in the beginning using Captivate or third-party tools. What do you help your coaches? Is there a training you recommend or a third-party tool that you help them grow their following so they can make more connections and impact more people?
So I don't recommend any third-party tool anymore. My Instagram disappeared twice over this last year when I used a third-party tool, and it scared the crap out of me. One of it was on my birthday at Leadership this year, and it was completely user not found. And I had to like try and get it back and re-verify and stuff, and so it was really scary. So I don't recommend third-party tools at all to my coaches. I did a training for my Emerald coaches. I have a weekly Emerald takeover call with all my Emeralds, my downline, and so I did a YouTube video training where I'm really teaching them to use locations, like grow organically, because slow organic growth is way safer than fast third-party growth right now with all of Instagram's changes. So I'm having them use location tags a lot. Also to find people, like I'm, using where I live, it's like Goodyear, Arizona. Like I'm going to go to Goodyear, Arizona and find my people that I want to interact with through that. So location tags, learning how to use hashtags in the like effective way. The app Smart Hash, so Smart Hash is a really good way to test what hashtags are working. You can split test hashtags, so you can see, like, if you have a business profile, you can see the insights on what hashtags are like gaining you followers or gaining you insights or gaining your reach. So Smart Hash is a good one to figure out hashtags, but I'm really just reminding them every single day that like it's gonna be slow. It's gonna be slow growth, especially the way that Instagram is right now. But most of them have like 700 Facebook friends. So if you're like you're trying to grow your Instagram, like you still have all these people over your Facebook. And so definitely showing them, like, even when they're like, oh my gosh, I only have 200 followers. I'm like, would you go into a room with 200 people and say, I only have 200 people in this room? Like, no, you'd be like, holy crap, there are 200 people in this room. So really getting their mindset, like, just show up every single day, be consistent every single day, and you're going to organically grow.
Thank you. That's a really good analogy. And so when you talk about the invites that you do on Instagram, do you train your team the same on Facebook? Like invite the same, no difference?
Yeah, pretty much. I think if it's like someone that you like went to high school with, or like someone that's more in your warm market, I think you can be a little bit more personal than maybe something you would send to someone you don't know on Instagram, but they follow you. But I pretty much, because I'm so casual with my invites to people I don't know, I pretty much send the same thing to people I know, unless it's like someone I was friends with in college. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've seen that you've done all this stuff. Like, that's amazing. Have you seen what I'm doing? Like, would you want to do it with me or whatever? So.
Thank you.
I have an invite question for you, Kate. So my coaches are obsessed with you, of course. And they, your whole inviting analogy and just the notebook is really something that they like to do and they want to do. But as new coaches, they all say, pretty much all of them say, I feel like it's unanimous, is that they have a very low following on Instagram. They don't have a lot of viewers. They maybe have like 80 viewers to like maybe 100. And they ask me all the time, well, who does she invite if you don't have enough people? So for your new coaches, if they say to you, hey, Kate, I don't have enough people watching my stories, commenting and liking on my content, there's no way I can invite 62 people a day, new people, 5 days a week. So what do you say to them when they come to you and they say that?
Well, I mean, when I started, I wasn't inviting 62 people a day either. I was inviting 30. I actually went back to my archives to see how many people were watching my stories in the beginning, and it was 80. And so but I hit Success Club 40 in my first month as a coach. So it's total, it's such a self-limiting belief. I didn't even think that was weird. I didn't even think that was abnormal when I was a new coach, because I was just doing it. And I was sharing it with people I went to college with, people I went to high school with. I was like, do you want to do this with me? So I was tapping more into my warm market in the beginning. All my discount coaches, or all my coaches that got me to Diamond, were pretty much warm market people. And maybe they're not the people that got me to 1 star, but I think they're getting in their heads. I think people get in their heads about it, because it's I had 500 followers and 80 people watching my stories, but and 20 likes on a photo, but I was inviting from my followers. So getting that, it's they clicked the follow button for a reason. No one's holding a gun to their head saying you need to follow Kate. They clicked the follow button for a reason, so you might as well send them an invite. And they can either unfollow you or whatever. It's not a big deal. And then also Facebook. I was using Facebook a lot more in the beginning. I definitely went over to Instagram. I'm going to call out Holly, because Holly told me that I hid behind Instagram one time. She was like, you're hiding behind Instagram. You need to get into Facebook more. Stop hiding behind it. And I was like, you're right. And so, I've gone back to Facebook, but I think they're just in their head, because most of the time, if you look at your coaches that are saying that Facebook friends, they have hundreds of Facebook friends. So it's really just pointing it out to them, and then also telling them then don't send 62 invites, send 30. 30 is still better than 5. 30 is still better than 0. Just because you can't send 62 yet doesn't mean that you won't be able to. But start at 30, because that's what I started at. And then as I grew, I started to send more. So.
Perfect. And I think that's a mindset, self-limiting belief is the warm market too. And I tell them, I've been telling all my team, go back to Facebook, because I feel with everything going on with Instagram, so I love it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, and Kate, you really should tell them to do 31. I mean, not 30. You might as well finish the column.
Right. It's true.
Exactly. Other questions? Geez, they're so quiet today. Lori Stewart, what do you got? Come on, Lori.
I have a question for Kate. I'll ask her a question.
Perfect.
So, what do you think, or how, you have a 5-star elite coach already. She will be elite, right? I think I saw you post she has her points or whatever. She'll be elite this year. Yeah. So how did you help develop her that last year to get to the point that she's at? I think that's one thing that you've done extremely well is, okay, I've been coaching a year and a half, and now I already have an elite coach underneath me. So how do you think you did that, besides just telling her, hey, go out and do the invites? I mean, maybe it was that basic, right? She just did the things you told her to do.
Yeah, so Sydney is definitely an anomaly, but she was one of my first coaches. I got her in January, right after I started coaching. She was one that she went on her Instagram stories and bashed Beachbody, but I sent her an invite anyways. She told me that she was allergic to Shakeology. She wasn't. And then I ended up, she ended up hearing about 80 Day Obsession. Her husband was deployed. She was a teacher. Her mom had been doing Beachbody for 4 years, DVDs, had amazing results. And she was like, hey, are you doing 80 Day Obsession? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, I want to do it, but I don't want to buy the shakes and I don't want to do any of this. And I was like, okay. And so I just as a new coach was like, I know that if I can get her to fall in love with this, she's going to be an awesome coach, because she had a pretty good following when she started. She was like a big teacher Instagrammer, so she had a couple thousand followers. So I was like, if I can get Exploring Fifth on my team, like this is going to be awesome. So I let her into my challenge group with just using her mom's Beachbody On Demand account. And 4 days later, she signed up with a challenge pack as a coach, because she was like, I'm going to do this. And when I talked to her about like, why did you take off running so fast? She was at a really hard spot in her life too, with her husband being deployed in Afghanistan, with, her co-teacher had just left. So she was all by herself at her school with really no friends or family. And she was just like, I saw how happy you were and how like you were, just so positive and waking up at 4 a.m. and I was living off Pop-Tarts and Pepsi. And like, I just wanted to feel like you felt. And so we kind of ran alongside each other, I think, this last year. But she does exactly the same things I do. Like, it is like, I heard her speak on the National Wake Up Call a couple weeks ago, and I was like, yes, like I was so proud, because it was like, she's actually hearing all the things I'm telling her, and she's actually like using that to duplicate her own leaders. Like, she has a couple star diamonds under her. And so I think it is just really like running alongside your people. We also are like best friends. Like, we have a really good friend relationship too. And just really like, she's like, you told me what to do and I did it. It was like that simple. I think that you're going to get coaches that are like that. And then I have coaches that have been with me for a year that are still an Emerald coach. So it's like, I think it just, depends on the person, but, I wasn't afraid. I wasn't afraid to invite her, even though she just like bashed Beachbody on. And it was funny because people would be like, were you talking about lipstick and literacy, or were you talking about lunges and literacy? And she's like, no, I like her. Like, I just don't like the other ones. And then she ended up being a coach herself. So I think it was just like, I set the bar, because she's always right behind me on our leaderboards or above me on our leaderboards with Success Club. She's like, whatever Kate does, I'm going to do. And she, teaching our team, like, success leaves clues. Like, clearly, if what we're doing is working, like, do that. And so that's kind of what I taught her from the beginning. But I think the fact that we ran together was really helpful too. But it was just like building a relationship, and then setting those high expectations. Like, if I'm doing this, you're doing this. And it's kind of continued for a couple other coaches too, that I've just seen them. Like, I have a coach who, she has been a coach for a little over a month now, but she hit diamond in 30 days. She just had her baby yesterday. So she was 37 weeks pregnant. When she hit diamond, she had 400 followers, and, not a crazy transformation, obviously, but she was like, hey, I'm going to do the things that Kate says to do, because clearly it works. And I think it takes like those people coming in and doing that to get everybody else kind of working too. Yeah, Dara, that's why I posted that, because I was like, I want to know, because I'm doing a training for my team tomorrow about like not stopping at challenge packs, like lead with a challenge pack, but don't like stop there, like get them in your group either way with bot or whatever. And that's why I asked you guys to post that, because I wanted to see like how many rock stars started with something simple, I think we forget about that a lot.
Meg, you had a question?
That was actually my question. I was going to ask about the leadership stuff, so I don't have a question anymore.
All right, I have two, Kate. The first one is, are you still promoting 80-Day Obsession, or are you doing a different workout?
So I'm doing 80-Day right now.
Okay.
I turned down Morning Meltdown Test Group because in February I was in a really hard spot personally. We were moving and building the house, and it was just really crazy. And I knew what 80-Day felt like last year, and I knew that I needed something to kind of recenter my own journey, because without our own journeys, I always say focus on yourself and everything else falls into place. And I felt like I was not focusing on myself. I had been in the Transform 20 test group, which was amazing, but I had done Transform 24 times. And then I was in the UPF test group, which was amazing. Like, changed my whole world around nutrition. But I was like, I need to do something for me and not for really my business maybe at this point. And so I really dove back into 80-day, scared shitless, to say the least, because I thought it was, I thought like, oh, well, I'm turning down this test group. It's going to ruin my business. But I got 50 people to do 80-day obsession with me, a year after it launched, because I was excited about it. I was like, I'm going to do this and let's do it together. And this is what I did last year. And here are my results from last year. And let's do it all together now. So that challenge group we're on day like 57, I think, in the 50s. And it's been going really well. My girls are getting awesome results. So I go back to 80-day when I feel like I need to be centered in like my own journey, because it's easy to get caught up in everything else. But I don't feel like we have a business if we're not focused on ourselves first. And people can feel that. Like, I think people can feel when we're not, really in love with our own journey. And I noticed that with my own coaches too. Like, I have coaches putting out 70 invites a day and not hitting Success Club. And then when we really dive into it, they're not doing personal development. They're not doing their workouts. They're not focused on their nutrition. And the second they like redo that, they're hitting Success Club 10. Like, it's wild how people can just feel that in your social media.
Well, and that's a great, like, especially with leaders, that's a great message, because you did win the opportunity to be invited to the Morning Meltdown 100 test group. And I can still remember when Sid came to me and said, yeah, KateScholtes turned it down. And we were like, wait, what? Like, why would you turn it down? Like, nobody turns it down. We get people so mad at us for not getting invited. Who turns it down? But I think, to your credit, that's awesome. And I think it's perfect that you're like, listen, I'm going to 80-day worked. It was 2018 was 80-day. Why not do it again? And I appreciate the fact that you made that decision and went after it. So last question, and we'll have to shut her down unless somebody else has one. I just wanted to ask you, year to date, you've made 3 success starters. Where did you find them, and how did that happen? I'm just curious if they were unique in some way or what happened.
No, because I don't think Success Club's hard.
Okay.
I don't think that there's nothing crazy special about them. In fact, like 1 or 2 of them is like Miss Success Club last month. So I don't think there's anything crazy special about them. The one that hit last month, she wants to quit her job. She wants to quit teaching eventually. So she is like working really hard and is pushing for diamond and has this passion, this light about her. But I don't really try super hard to develop success starters. I just get them hitting Success Club. Like, I tell them how important Success Starters is because they get their free ticket to Summit. It helps our team for Elite and Top 10 and all this stuff. And I give them that. And I remind them of that when they're super close to like staying on track to Success Starter. But Success Club's not hard. It's 3 people. And so if they're coming in and they want to help 3 people a month, inevitably they're going to hit Success Starter. I also have a lot of coaches that they don't get started their first month. They sign up and they're just like really slow starters, and then they miss that first month, and then they're hitting Success Club 10 every month after that. So we didn't do anything special. We do focus a lot on Success Club and hitting Success Club, and why it's important to hit Success Club to drive our businesses forward, and why it's important to hit Success Starter for our team and for you to earn your ticket. But I also remind them that it's not hard and not to overcomplicate it, because I think when people miss Success Starter, it's because they either just didn't get started right away or because they're overcomplicating it. And I think a lot of times people miss Success Club because they're overcomplicating it and they're stressed out about those points instead of just focusing on their journey, sharing it with others, and doing everything that they can to control it.
Perfect. So Allie Tessitore just asked, do you suggest a specific tracker for your new coaches other than a notebook?
So I give them the Success Club system tracker. Every Wednesday, I have my team drop their tracker. It's a Success Club system tracker. Again, I did edit in Photoshop at least 15 invites a day instead of 5, because I don't think that they're going to grow their business as quickly. I just don't think they're going to grow their business as quickly as they want to, or see results fast enough to keep them going if they're sending 5 a day. So I edited it, made it 15, and I have them drop it every Wednesday in the team page. And it is very enlightening to not only me, but to them. They're like, I never want to see a tracker like this again. Like they're just like, maybe all the boxes weren't filled out. It helps them figure out like where, I always tell them to be honest, like don't just check a box to check a box, because this is how we're going to track your business and this is how we're going to know what we need to work on. And so that's been really helpful, that just extra layer of accountability. But they use a Success Club system tracker and then a notebook for invites most of the time. So keeping it simple.
Cool. All right, guys, any final questions or we can end? I think we're good. Well, Kate, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for being willing to come on the call. This has been great. Next week, guys, we will have Jamie Fitzpatrick on the call, again on the hot seat. And anyway, we'll be excited for that one as well. But Kate, this was awesome. I appreciate your simplicity. I appreciate your focus. And I think you're just having such a great success right now that you're a great example of, what coaches ought to be doing. And a lot of it's keeping it simple and just, but then setting a higher expectation to your coaches, that they can do more. So anyway, thank you so much for being here, Kate. Thank you, guys. If you need me, I'm not traveling this week. We'll be in the office all week. So let's talk soon. We'll see you guys. Bye.